Welcome to a video on the parts of an expression. Before we get too far into the parts of an expression, we need to talk about what a term is. An expression is often made up of different terms. So what a term is by definition, it's a number, a variable, or it's the product of numbers and variables. And remember from a previous video, product implies multiplication. So I've got some examples of terms listed below. The number 6, -4, 1,000. Alone, each of those is a term because it is a number. Letters, which we call them variables in algebra, X, Y, the letter A, those are variables, which is in fact a term. Now here's some more complicated examples of terms. 3x. This one is the product of a number and a variable. 2xy to the second. Okay, this is a number, 2 times x. Y squared, remember how exponents work, is the same thing as just saying y times y. So this is really like saying 2 times x times y because of the second power there, the squared, which is the product of numbers and variables. -1/2 x, y, z to the fourth. This is all together one term. An example of more than one term, you would have to have some operation between them, such as 3x plus 5. Now we have a situation where we have two terms. 3x is its own term, and then the plus 5 is a separate term. While we're discussing terms, we need to talk about something called like terms. You will hear a lot about this in algebra. Like terms can be combined. What do I mean by like terms? Like terms will have the same combination of numbers and variables. The same way if you take 5 plus 6 gives you 11, you can combine those because they are both numbers. So take a look at some examples. 3a, which is a term, plus 4a, which is another a term. They have the same combination of variables there. I can combine those to be 7a. 3 a's in a bucket plus 4 a's in a bucket. Now you have 7 a's in a bucket. If I have -2x and then I take away 8x, because these are like terms, they both have the x, the positive and negatives are irrelevant to it being a like term. It has to be the same combination of variables, so to speak. So because these are like terms, -2 minus 8 is -10x. Now notice in the calculator, you are going to have a difficult time, and quite possibly there's not a way to do it that I know of, to actually type in -2x minus 8x. So instead you have to just do -2 minus 8. You have to just take care of the coefficients to get your -10 and realize that because they are like terms, your answer will remain a like term. Now take a look at 4xy minus 2x. These cannot be combined because they are not like terms. This has a xy in it, this just has an x. So you'll just leave them written as is. You cannot combine those. Same situation here with the 12x minus 3. It's tempting to put 9x, but you cannot combine those two because each term is different. They are not like terms. This is a number or a constant, and this one has a variable with it. Now let's talk about some of the parts of a term. The number in the front, the larger script number, is called a coefficient. Coefficient. Okay? If I ever ask you to look at the coefficient of this term, it's asking you for the larger script number that's in the front. Okay? In this case, our coefficient is a 5. The x in this problem, this is the variable. Okay? Often in algebra, this represents the unknown, something we need to plug in for, some value that we're not real sure what it is. The small, what some people call superscript at the top, represents the exponent in this problem. So in the term 5x to the 6th power, the 5 is the coefficient, which is the number in front. X is the variable. 6 is the exponent in this problem. Now this is a little bit more complicated of an expression. This says 3a squared minus 2a minus 5. Let's see if we can identify some of the key parts. Of course, the 2 and the superscript up here is the exponent in this problem. Okay, if I was to ask you what is the coefficient of the a squared term, you would look very specifically at the a squared term and realize that the coefficient there is a 3. Another word we haven't talked about yet is the constant. Constant usually refers to the number in an expression that does not have a variable. In this case, the -5 is our constant. It does not have a variable. It is a term. It's just not a term with a variable in it. And another question that may come up, this was the coefficient. Another question that I could ask is how many terms are in this particular expression? And hopefully you recognize 3a squared as one term, -2a as a term, and a -5 as a term. There are 3 different terms in this expression that cannot be combined or simplified because they are all different and they are all considered not like terms. All right, thank you for watching.